What's crackalackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know so. And back again for another season preview. We're doing the Baltimore Ravens, and to answer that question quick, no, it wasn't a fluke. Tell you why. We're going to go over the roster. We're going to go over the schedule. We're going to go over who my projected starters, or who I think are going to see the most snaps. And then I'm going to give you a prediction on how well I think the Ravens will do. Sorry, hit the mic. Not a lot of hand room here. But go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. And let's just go ahead. Let's dive in to this, because I'm trying to make these videos a little shorter, because 20-minute videos can be a bit to handle for some people, but it is a lot. I don't want to really miss too much information, you know? I want to be as thorough as I can, so is what it is. Y'all will let me know if I miss anything in the comment section below. I know y'all will. I can rely on y'all. Or if I mispronounce a name, which, sorry, I suck at pronouncing names. That's just my thing. I practice, I swear. But Lamar Jackson, there's an easy name. Yeah, no, he's amazing. He's good. He was amazing. Good. No, he's great. I feel like Tony Tiger. He's great. In the system that he was in, he played extremely well. He really took a huge step. And I don't see this offense slowing for nothing. I think these second-year players are going to come back and play and just be like monstrous. Like Hollywood Brown. Let's just talk about his weapons, because that's who I'm really referring to here, are his weapons. Hollywood Brown, vertical threat, scary, terrifying. I'm shaking just thinking about it. And then you got Miles Boykins. I know he I guess you could say mixed reviews last year, but he's got great size. He's another vertical threat to watch out for. They really tested it deep with him. He was thrown to 10 times, didn't convert too much on those, and that was kind of a worry with him, the contested catch coming out of college. But I do expect him to be better, and actually that's what a lot of people are saying. They anticipate him to be better, see more reps, and I think he will. But it's interesting because a lot of, or at least the most damage he was dealing was, and which is kind of wild because this is a statistic that kind of gets lost in transition here, is on throws between 10 to 19 yards. He was doing a lot of damage last year, went past it. And I mean, it's not like he got a ton of reps on that. It was two, let me do the math real quick. 8. He was 8 and 9. Yeah, that's correct math. 8 and 9 when targeted between 10 to 19 yards, and that turned into 3 touchdowns. He's replacing Willie Snead. Willie Snead is really just an underneath guy. I mean, I know a lot of people probably put Willie Snead as the star just because he's kind of a veteran. That's kind of his thing. He's always been a pretty good slot guy, pretty good underneath guy, regardless. But year 2, I think Boykin, I may have been throwing an S on that. If so, apologies. But I think he takes the next step there. And then let's talk about Devin Duvernay, because that guy is a monster. You want to talk about underneath? This guy I think it was almost half of his targets last season at Texas, which was, he had like 100 some targets. The guy was ridiculous. We're on screenplays. They're going to use this guy a lot. They are going to use this guy a lot. And he's got disgusting speeds. He is a bit raw as a route runner, but he vertical threat, screen threat. We're going to use him a lot on screens. It's scary. I love the playmakers. And of course, I'll talk about the tight ends. They came in a lot in 2 tight end sets. Because they're a power run team and they do it very, very well. So, hey, you do you, boo. If you're good at it, keep doing it. And of course, Nick Boyle's going to be a big part of that. Mark Andrews was really able to kind of help in that intermediate area. They kind of lost because Mark Andrews, he can be a deep threat, but he wasn't the deep threat that Hayden Hurst was, coming from the tight end position. And I'm thinking maybe they think that Oh gosh, named Jacob Breland. There we go. It's right in front of my face. Maybe could be that potentially. He's an above, in my opinion, he was an above average athlete coming out of Oregon, coming off a leg injury, but he does got enough speed to be not a deep threat if they really want that, really want to pursue that. I mean, they really got enough deep threats as it is. I mean, we could throw James Proche. I mean, essentially, Willie Snead, your job has just been filled. Proche, yeah, he struggles with separation, but the guy is, so watch out. There's a lot of weapons in the for Lamar Jackson. So let's just go ahead. Let's talk about the weapons in the backfield because there's a ton. Mark Ingram, Gus Edwards. Ingram, he only saw, I think it was 116 more snaps than Edwards. Both were extremely efficient. Mark Ingram was actually the better pass blocker. So, fun fact. And it's hard to think that J.K. Dobbins just comes in and he starts over both these guys. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think definitely Mark Ingram is gonna be the starter. He's definitely gonna see a majority of the reps, but I think the workload you saw from Gus Edwards and from Justice Hill, that's going to get cut in half. They're going to be playing Dobbins quite a bit. He's probably the future. Took him in the second round. Ideally, that's probably what's going to happen. Was it the second round? I'm not too positive now. It's just saying that. Let me be sure of that. I don't want to say something, and then get fact checked. He was taken in, second round, 55th pick. I know my stuff. So it's gonna be interesting to see exactly how they dole things out there in the backfield. I don't know, Dobbins. It's not like their running backs catch too many passes out of the backfield anyway. Looking at it, Mark Ingram had the most at 30. Justice Hill had 19. So, they're not going to really be factors, I think, in the pass game. Like I said, Mark Ingram came in a lot, and he was used as a pass blocker. But, again, weapons. This is a power run team. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about the line. Offensive line, you got Ronnie Stanley? Yeah, there we go. Stanley, who's came out, he was probably last year's best pass protector from as a left tackle. And I mean, the dude's just phenomenal. He played great last year. Allowed only 1 sack, only 10 pressures. Beautiful. On the other side, opposite side, you got a guy who played just as well. Well, okay, let me reel back. He played good. He played very well. Not as well as Stanley, but Stanley was like at the tippity top. Orlando Brown, man, he deserves a lot of credit. Yeah, he allowed 21 pressures, which is it's not bad, but he was very limited on penalties. Only 3 penalties, allowed 3 sacks. And I mean, when you think about that, because Lamar Jackson hit just his style of play, it kind of enables him to. It allows him to get sacked maybe more often because he has that ability to make plays outside the pocket, to make plays with his feet, to extend plays. Normal quarterbacks, really any other quarterbacks, they don't have that ability. So sometimes Lamar Jackson can be a tough quarterback to protect, but he's got a great line. So, I mean, he doesn't have to extend plays often. And then going to the interior, this is where actually things get pretty interesting because you look at, we got to find someone for Yonder, right? And they got an interesting battle ensuing here because Ben Powers, who played only 30 snaps last year, and actually he played pretty well those 30 snaps. They were top notch on the 30 snaps, but they drafted Ben Breedson, who a guy not a high ceiling, but his floor is an average, solid NFL starter. So there's I like that. I like that. There's competition there. DJ Fluker, though, he's the veteran. I expect him to win this job, at least at the beginning, and maybe hand it off to someone else. We could also talk about Tyrese Phillips from Mississippi State, who is a tackle, transitioning to guard, but this is a guy who athletically he wouldn't be able to cut it on the outside. He's a big run blocker, big mauler, and he's played pretty well, but he was a JUCO transfer. He's kind of developed bit by bit, and I think let's just say he needs more time to develop, but I think he could even be an outstanding future guard, because I don't think too much of Bradley was it Bozeman. Like I said, I'm gonna mispronounce the name, so my apologies, because he was actually probably the weakest link on the line last year. If we're being honest, he allowed 5 sacks, which not too bad, 26 pressures, 6 penalties. So like I said, this offensive line played extremely well last year. Then you got Matt Shakur, hopefully I got that one right, who actually played extremely well. That's why they threw the tender on him. And this offense is just going to be lights out. I mean, we could talk about Patrick Richard, who I know kind of fullback position's kind of being phased out, but he's still one of the great few left. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about the defense, though, because this defense, I don't know how they were able to make so many offers and keep some of their players with their salary cap, but NFL teams are good at that. So let's just go ahead. Let's talk about the defensive line, because that's kind of where they made, I think, the most free agent additions. Derek Wolfe was good after the Michael Brockers deal kind of fell through. Very solid, great veteran. I love it there. Calais Campbell, the dude's a monster. This defensive line is going to be so much better than last year, and that's scary to say. Brandon Williams probably going to be there at nose tackle. He kind of rotated a bit at nose tackle with, who was it? Michael Pierce, excuse me. I think it's going to be interesting how they get guys like Justin Metabuke involved. Even Justin Ellis I like a lot, because he's one of the best run defenders in football. So he's a good early down guy, but I mean, they got a lot of depth there. You even could talk about Jihad Ward, but I think he's more of kind of a sub. Well, yeah, he's definitely a sub packaged guy, more of a pass situation type edge guy. But I just love the defensive line for the Ravens. I don't know how, but man, y'all done good. And then they really addressed the linebacker position, but you also got to expect a lot of youth comes in there. A lot of, when you draft rookies, they have no NFL experience. Patrick Queen, though, I love that pick. He's an athlete. He's an athlete. He's going to be pretty solid in coverage. How he stacks up against the run, we'll see. I have a bit of reservations there, but that's why they went and got Malik Harrison, because that's a guy who could go in and put your guard on your butt, or on their butt, not your butt. But I love those two draft picks, because those are kind of polar opposite guys. One who I think is extremely athletic, going to be very good in coverage, very good like heat-seeking missile on those outside run plays, and then the other is just gonna run down on the defense or on the offensive line and pop them in the mouth. Solid. And it's interesting because honestly, the only guy I think that could contest these guys for playing time at the linebacker position is probably LJ Fort. So yeah, I think these two are guaranteed to start. Then you look at the edge. That's where I think they're a bit thin, because Matt Judon, he was phenomenal last year. Is he worth top tier edge rusher money? I don't know. I'm a bit hesitant about that. I don't know how they're gonna make make a long-term deal happen with him. I thought this whole offseason he was going to get traded. Hasn't happened yet, but bringing him back after last year, because remember, a lot of his work came in the second half of the season when the Ravens, when that whole team just kind of shifted. Like, all right, it was probably, I think, after week 5 or week 6 where they were like, all right, we know the identity of this offense and this defense. Let's shut people down. And that's what they did. Keep in mind, this defense, they used a lot of sub packages. They brought in they brought in more athletes on the field. You were seeing, and I constantly quoted this during the draft, that they used more, like their safeties saw 2,200 snaps compared to linebackers, which saw 1,100. I don't think it's going to be like that this year, just because they didn't really add anything to the safety position. They did add one name that we'll talk about, but we'll get there when we get there. So they might go more kind of traditional sub package from here on out. It'll be interesting. But you do have McPhee, who's a solid, reliable veteran. Jalen Ferguson, he kind of flashed last year, but the guy, he's not an athlete by any means. He's a borderline athlete at that. So I don't know. It's hard to say that he'll see much of the field. I know he did see a good grip of snaps, or at least for a rookie this past season. What was it? It was... Why can't I find your name, my friend? 533. Like I said, he did pretty well on those snaps, but I don't think not enough to warrant that he's going to be on the field in sub packages, which I think they might be running a lot of. And then let's just go ahead talk about the secondary, because I think that that's the real interesting part. Because Marlon Humphrey, he's proven that he is one of the best corners in football. I don't think he's quite on the level of like Richard Sherman or Stephon Gilmore last year. He's getting there. I thought he was he's well on his way. I know a lot of people will probably be like, oh no, dude, he was definitely one of the best corners in football last season. I think he's right. He was right on the verge of it, and I think he will be this year. Marcus Peters, dude's a turnover machine. The dude's a pick 6 machine. What's not to like? I think what's interesting is going to be the battle for slot, for the nickel position, because Tavon Young, which sucks. This guy was pretty darn good his rookie year, then back-to-back season-ended injuries. That's why I think they drafted a guy real late too. A guy I had a 3rd-round grade on, Geno Stone, very underrated guy. That he's very disciplined. He played a lot of heavy zone, but a guy that, because I think they're definitely gonna try to keep like maybe 3 safeties on the field, I think, and he might be one of them where he will line up in sub packages, line up maybe in the nickel or somewhere on the inside, somewhere not necessarily around the box, but maybe around the line of scrimmage if they do line them up there. So I think there's an argument to be made that Geno Stone might relieve Young if something were to happen. And then Earl Thomas. And then Chuck Clark, who kind of came out of nowhere last season. He was a monster. He actually, the dude was great. He kind of was the catalyst, I think, for this team when they started to decide, hey, let's start using more, or start getting more safety play in. And they did just that. I thought he did phenomenal, especially after Tony Jefferson went down. So it's going to be interesting. This defense looks really good. The offense, it looks just as good as last year. So let's just go ahead and take a quick look at the schedule. And playing in the AFC North, it's going to be tough. Pittsburgh's going to be much better because of Big Ben. Cleveland, I say this in every video, they're playing with the chip on their shoulder. They were supposed to be great last year. People talking about Super Bowl. That didn't happen, so I expect them to be much better, and I expect Cincinnati to be much better. Joe Burrow is a monster. And then they have to face the NFC East, which ain't all bad. You got Dallas and Philly, which can be a little daunting, but then you got the Redskins and the Giants, which is a little less. On top of that, they will have to face the AFC South, which is kind of in this weird mix. You got the Jaguars, which kind of feel like they're in a rebuild. Indianapolis kind of putting their Super Bowl hopes on Phillip Rivers. Tennessee Titans trying to prove that they weren't a fluke, that they're for real. They're better than a 9-7 team. And then you have the Houston Texans, who had the worst offseason of any team, yet with Deshaun Watson and the speed on that offense, that's still a very potent offense, and with one of the better offensive lines in football. So, like I said, that's kind of it's kind of mixed. It's kind of tough what to expect there, but they get to face the Tom Brady-less Patriots, which that's a little nice. But then you get the Kansas City Chiefs, which that ought to be a banger. It happens early in the year. So I think the bye comes at a good time because I think it's a pretty tough schedule, like for their first 7 weeks, with Cleveland, Houston, Kansas City, and then Washington. Can't sleep on Cincinnati, Philadelphia, or the Steelers. So I think it's pretty tough. I think, honestly, 6 of those games, 6 of their first 7 are extremely, those are tough games to start the year. They're not really going to have the time to figure out, okay, man, let's kind of get in the groove of things, okay? Didn't go well the first time. Maybe we'll get that. You don't have the first 5 to 6 games to kind of get into your groove, which is great because this team, they have an identity. They know what they're about now. So I expect them to do extremely well this year. I think it's great that, honestly, you get New England coming out of the bye. You get the Colts, which that can be tough. Colts are kind of weird, tricky to figure out, especially with Phillip Rivers, but expect Phillip Rivers to be pretty darn good this year. But then you get the Patriots. It's almost like a second bye, unless Stidham's like the second coming of Brady. So let's just go ahead and oh crap, I don't have it ready. Hold up. I want to give you all my predictions, but I don't have it up and ready for y'all. Actually, let me give you all the starters first, because that's normally how I do things. And of course, Lamar Jackson. Mark Ingram, I think, is going to get bulk of the reps. I don't think J.K. Dobbins is really going to cut too much into his time. If anything, it's Gus Edwards that's going to lose a lot of reps. Hollywood Brown, Miles Boykin, Mark Andrews, Nick Boyle, because we know they love them 2 tight end sets, and then Stanley. Then I got Bradley B., Matt Shakur, DJ Fluker. I went with the veteran. I think Ben Powers is definitely in the mix here. I was kind of 50-50 on that. Orlando Brown. Looking at the defense, Calais Campbell, Brandon Williams, Derek Wolfe. I'm terrified. Matt Judon, Patrick Queen, and I put Malik Harrison because there's no one else outside of LJ Fort, and I would start Harrison over Fort. And then you got Humphrey, you got Peters. I put Tavon Young here for now, and then Earl Thomas, Chuck Clark. Now I got my predictions ready. Let me give it to y'all straight. I got them it's tough to get 14 wins, all right? I have them doing less than 14 wins, all right? I mean, who's going to expect that team to get 14 wins again? I expect the division to be much tougher this year. So I kind of went with, which strangely it feels like, I went with their floor. 10 wins, 10-6. I went with that when I did my predictions, which is kind of weird. Like, considering, like, okay, that's the team's floor. Yeah, this team's pretty good. So 10-6. I think they're more likely maybe 11 or 12. So maybe I think 11 or 5 would probably be much better, but I already went through week by week. I got 10-6. I'm giving you a 10-6. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. It's always much appreciated, much obliged. And until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.